Hey there, Knicks fans. Oh, how you doing? It's your boy, Jonathan Macri, with you for another episode of the Knicks Film School Podcast. Oh, it's been a week. Oh, boy. Yes, it has. For the second consecutive regular Sunday show, except it's not Sunday because it's Monday, as we're recording this, I'm not joined by Jeremy Cohen. Jeremy's has a bit on his plate right now. So again, same big shoes, same big feet to fill them. Benjy Ritholtz. Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great. Just trying not to get tomatoed this week. I see y'all in the comments. And it doesn't affect me. And in fact, I kind of hope I get tomatoed again this week. Virtually tomatoed.
Would you rather I'm assuming you would rather get virtually tomatoed than tomatoed in real life.
Seems more pleasant.
And why was hold on really quick. So for anybody who doesn't know what we're talking about, Benjy, after last week, I don't know what prompted this commenter to put a tomato emoji in the comment.
Three tomatoes.
Three?
Yes.
It really went to town. But whatever. He said something that displeased this particular listener or viewer. Why do you think they used tomatoes as the fruit / vegetable of choice when people didn't like? Well, was it tomatoes, or wasn't it like cabbage also was thrown at performers who were not doing their job?
I can't say I'm aware of cabbage being used in the olden days. Tomatoes, I don't know why. Maybe they were plentiful. Maybe
that has to be it, right?
Cheap.
Yeah.
Maybe people don't like eating tomatoes plain anyway, so you have one on hand, you're just going to chuck it at someone.
Because if you really didn't like the performance, it would be much more emphatic to throw like a pineapple at someone's head.
Second, I don't think they had pineapples in like Shakespearean times in England.
Probably not. In case you can't tell already, it has been, this week has driven us all into some form of madness. And yet, what do they say? That the dawn is darkest before the light. I feel like someone said that at some point, maybe back in Shakespeare in England. It feels like we're getting close. Close to what? Well, that's one of the things we're going to talk about. So, let us go through the week that was before we get to where we are right now. And where we are right now is certainly something that I feel like got a little bit clearer today. And we'll get to that in a minute. So, my God, the win over the Pistons, that feels like about a million years ago. But the Knicks started off their week with a win over the fighting. Benjy Ritholtz is fighting Detroit Pistons.
Rock solid.
You have to get that on a t-shirt. I'm going to get it for you. For what's the next opportunity I can get you a gift? I don't need an opportunity. I'm just going to get you rock solid Detroit Pistons. Maybe I'll make my own logo.
There was the Bad Boys era, and now there's the Rock Solid era.
There's the Rock Solid era. Which is better? Who could say? That was followed by a game that, again, and I wrote it too the next day. I'm like, this final score was not indicative of the game that was played. And I'm sitting here looking at the final score on Andrew's rundown, 115-92. I'm like, man, they really lost that game to the Pelicans by 23 points. And like, yes, they lost to 23 points by 23 points, but that was a really close game. It was a hard fought game, especially considering the fact that Jalen Brunson didn't play in that game. And that was followed by what I thought was a really, really interesting game. And I think you could argue one of the Knicks. Actually, I want to ask you about something I said on the post game, but I'll start by just saying it was a hard fought loss, 110-99 to the Warriors. And then that all led up to Sunday night, which was, one of the stranger viewing experiences of my life as a sports fan. I went into that game feeling like, you know what? I bet you just like the Knicks do, they're going to give this one a real go. And all not totally fired up, but feeling like let's get after it, guys. Let's leave it all out there on the court like we've been doing, and then just haul the air out of the balloon in 30 seconds, and then from there on in, it was kind of like a blur into like out of the blur and into, oh my God, this is a competitive game, and then elation by the end. That's the week that was. So I'm just going to ask you, what are your impressions of this week as a whole?
I go back to last week. I had the privilege of, this is my first back-to-back weekly pod with you. Yeah. So for the first time having the advantage of like having discussed the week ahead, and now we're discussing the week that was. And I went, we'll get to this, but I went 1-3.
Yeah.
I had first pick, and obviously I figured we banked the Pistons win. I did not expect them to blow the Pistons out because they don't really have the talent to blow people out right now. And I figured next three we're going to be, Pelicans, a good team, schedule loss. I thought Brunson might not play. He didn't. And then Golden State's one of the hotter teams in the league, 50-point loss to the Celtics notwithstanding. And Cleveland's been playing great. I didn't know Donovan Mitchell wasn't going to play. And you said something like, I just feel like they're going to find a way to gut one more out. And I would have even taken 2-2 if I had the first pick. And like, that was prophetic at the end of the day. Like, they somehow found the craziest way to gut out one of those wins. They and all three games they grinded like hell. Like, to your point about the Pelicans game, like that was a competitive game, and then the Pelicans ran away with it late.
Yeah.
Warriors, they felt like they were down 10-15 the whole game, but it never got out of hand, and then they cut it to 4 at some point in the fourth quarter. Like, they're going to grind these games. Like, the Knicks don't really get blown out, at least not from like the start of games. Like, they may get run out in the fourth quarter, but they're going to grind you. It's always going to be within 5 points after the first half, no matter who's on the floor, it feels like, right? Yeah. And they just, against all odds, found a way to grind out one of these wins. And that being 2-2 on a tough week, and with a back-to-back included, instead of 1-3. So your victory over me and the predictions was just, it's massive. It can't be understated how big that was, the way the standings look right now, the way this team is trying to get through this difficult period. That win last night was just enormous.
I not sure if I said it on the post game or if I danced around saying it or if I came out and actually declared it. But I think in retrospect, I think you could say it was the biggest win of the season. And like, everybody has different definitions of biggest win. I think the definition of biggest win of the season can change depending on the tenor of a season as it goes along, and the ups and downs and twists and turns that you don't see coming. And like, it's weird to say that because I don't feel like we were quite at desperation time for the team, because like, we have all these built-in excuses at the moment, and we got another built-in excuse with Brunson. And yet, as I'm saying that out loud right now, and I'm hearing myself talk about it, I'm like, man, do the excuses kind of not matter at some point? Or not that they don't matter, like they are there, they don't disappear. But at a certain point in time, you kind of have to decide, like, are we in this or are we not in it? And like, we'll get to the Brunson part of it, because if Brunson's injury was more serious than it turned out to be, well, then that's a different conversation, because then your season is very different. But at some point, you have to decide, like, what are we doing here? And the Knicks needed to have that moment, and they had that moment. So that's why I think for me right now, I would have to say it's probably the biggest win of the year.
Yeah, and I mean, considering what happened in the first minute, like, I think a lot of teams just get blown off the floor, and everyone just chalks it up, right?
How would you have reacted if you were on a team, because you've played high level ball?
Yeah,
like your best player, first minute, biggest game or a huge game, and they just go down. Like, what is something? Do you need to say something in the huddle? Like, what does that sound like?
Yeah, there needs to be a regroup for sure, especially that early in a game where like there's no flow at all. You anticipated the game would look one way, you game planned around it looking one way, and then it all goes to hell. And then you put that on top of like the rash of injuries that they've had, and I did go through that. Like we had my senior year, a bunch of injuries, and it just felt like one after the other. And at some point, you're just like shaking your head, like it's inevitable. Someone's going to go down every game. Feels that way. And it takes a lot. It takes a lot of mental fortitude to like not to just never let go of the rope. And that's this team in a nutshell. Like that is what defines them is and what I rewatched the first half today because I was just like, sometimes after a game like the fourth quarter, second half always stick in your mind and you lose the first half a little bit. And first play after the injury, Dante DiVincenzo off one of these outlet DHOs the Knicks are running a lot, where they throw the ball to the weak side to a big who's being ignored, and then the shooter will come around in the space that's been left vacant. Dante DiVincenzo comes flying down to the baseline and makes an extremely difficult three, really high degree of difficulty.
I clipped this for tomorrow. As people listening to today's newsletter,
And you know what, man? Like that's just a dog. Like that's a statement right away of like, we're not going away. Like we're not going away. I'm here and we're going to play this through. And like, I'm going to make a tough shot right off the bat. And the Knicks went on a mini run right after the injury. And then, okay, things slowed down and a couple of shot clock violations. The offensive lack of firepower starts to really show. The Cavs, come all the way back. Jericho Sims checks in the game and goes on a little run where like making play after play on both ends when he checks into the game, a burst of energy that they needed.
Great tweet by you today.
I tweeted it out. If anyone wants to see the sequence I'm talking about, like they went from, I think it was down 1, they went on an 8-0 run right when he came in with like 6:20 left in the first quarter. It takes everybody. And they're all up for the challenge. Like I think it's a really successful week looking back on it, despite it's 2-2, but like the way they played, we'll get into kind of some nitty gritty stuff, details of like what they're doing offensively. I think is really interesting in the absence of some of the stars that they're waiting for to come back. I thought they learned a lot. I thought they showed a lot. I think Deuce and Sims, like as your second round draft picks, showing out in different games, different times, but like both really reliable. And obviously, the Nova boys, just like all in all, I thought a very impressive week that in some ways, I don't know if you felt this way, like reinvigorated me.
Yes.
Like I've been like ground down a little bit by all this, and I'm not playing. I'm just covering the team. But like it is hard. It's hard to like day in, day out really break things down when it's like none of these guys are going to be playing. These lineups don't make any sense. They're not going to be around when we're healthy. Like it's hard to really get in it. But like the team invigorated me because they're playing as if it's the last game of the season. So it's incumbent upon us to do the same, right?
Yeah. I have no bone to pick with any of the accounts that tweet this out in the morning of a game that the Knicks play, but like hearing you talk about it, like we kind of became ground down after a while. The tweets in the morning where it's like, smile, your Knicks play tonight. There are mornings when you wake up and you're like, man, I'm really not having a bit of a difficult time smiling.
I'm like, are the Rangers on tonight? Because they're playing really well and they're healthy. Like I could just, and I don't have to like tweet about it. I can just sit down and relax. I know. It does feel that way. It permeates the whole organization, everyone around it. Season is a grind. It's been more of a grind for this team than maybe any over the last month. And just like that, I thought last night was really important, even just from that aspect, the spirit that was shown, and that I think it gets into the fan base by osmosis almost. You watch something like that, you want to be a part of it.
And before we get into we'll go like bigger picture in a minute here. Don't worry, Andrew, I'm not ignoring the rundown. I see it. We're getting to it. I want to, because a couple of things you just mentioned. Maybe you want to go back briefly to the Warriors game. And I said afterwards, I want to get your opinion on this, that it was I cannot remember a game where a team played that hard and that poorly simultaneously. I thought, but it was like a combination of like execution was poor in that they just weren't hitting a ton of shots, and they were also like making errors. And I'm watching it and I'm like, man, but I couldn't get mad at it because they're trying their asses off. Like, you could tell they're giving it everything, And like, I don't know that was exemplified by anyone better than Josh Hart, who like, you're amazed at what he's going out there and trying to do. And at the same time, you look up at the end of the game and he's 4 for 17. And you're like, was he our best player in the game? And I guess to get to more your area of specialty, like the X's and O's stuff, I'm like watching that and I'm like, is this just a natural byproduct of guys who are being asked to do things that are just above their pay grade, their weight class, whatever you want to say, whatever analogy you want to use, or, you know, is that basically it? Or, you know, am I overthinking it or underthinking?
No, that's, I mean, Josh Hart should never take 17 shots, period. Under any circumstances. I wonder how many times he's taken, in an empty gym. I wonder how many times he's taken 17 shots in a game in his career. I don't know if anyone saw that stat. I can't imagine it's many. Yeah, and you just know how many times the ball ends up in his hands with like 6 seconds left on the shot clock. It seems to happen over and over again. It's like, well, what do I do? Well, I'm going to drive left and probably get to my nasty pull-up. And it's hard to watch. And then once in a while, he'll drain a step back in the corner to basically win a game and take Donovan Mitchell's necklace off. I mean, it's...
he will do that.
The ball finds him more than you'd like, especially now with the lack of surrounding talent on the roster. And you're not going to throw the ball to Precious, and you're not going to throw the ball either to your centers. And Brunson's not always on the floor. DiVincenzo's overextended, and he's finding a way. But like the amount he has to create right now, the difficulty of the threes, and that explains his Golden State performance, where he was 2 for 12 from three, I think.
He was 2 for 12, and it was interesting because it was sandwiched between the two games where Brunson missed, and he definitely did did more than an admirable job against Cleveland. I have to go back and look. I felt like his game against the Pelicans was like pretty good. I'll go back and double check that right now.
Yeah, I mean the Golden State one, like go look at those shots. Like, yeah, I mean they're not what he was getting with Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson on the floor together. I promise you that. Like he is, and he's making a bunch of them. He's making up for it. He's still somehow thriving in most games, but yeah, these guys are super overextended on the offensive end, and that's what you're seeing in real time. The Golden State game was like, I couldn't, as I'm watching it, I'm not understanding how it's a 4-point game.
Yeah,
like, what?
Same here.
By the way, like Steph, Clay, and Kuminga all had really good games. Steph made 8 threes. Clay made 4. Kuminga had like 27 points. I don't know what he had like that. And it didn't feel, I felt like the Warriors were playing a very Warriors game defensively. They were absolutely keyed in to what the Knicks couldn't do. They were all over Jalen Brunson.
Yeah.
And like somehow by hook or by crook, the Knicks hang in the game. Like that's what I mean. And you're going to get a couple, if you do that enough, and you hang in and you hang in and you hang in, things will go right in a game at some point, and you can hopefully eke out and scratch out a few more wins before the cavalry comes back.
So that's a good point to transition. So we've had this roller coaster of the last 24 hours, and now we are here, and I'm going to try to kind of sum up where here is. So about it, you can't do the math exactly because there aren't 84 games in the season. There's only 82, but we are about 3/4 of the way through the season. There's 21 games remaining. And with 21 games remaining, the Knicks are currently, Andrew, look at Andrew. Who's better than Andrew? Puts the picture right there, so I don't have to go searching for it. The Knicks are still 4th in the East. We could talk about how much you are still paying attention to the teams above them. We maybe should pay a little bit more attention now than we would have said a couple hours ago, because Donovan Mitchell is going to miss the next 3 games for Cleveland, and they are at least 3. Yeah. Well, I don't know how much you care about All NBA and stuff like that. I'm fascinated by the All NBA part of it, because he can't qualify for. Yeah, I know the Giannis news. Don't worry, Andrew. Because if he misses the next 3, which are now, it's been reported that he's going to miss the next 3. If he misses one more, that's it. He can't miss any more after one more. So if he misses 2 more after the 3 that have already been announced, he's going to miss. He can't qualify for All NBA. But this may be a real serious thing. And then Giannis is miss. I have the game on right now. Again, as we're recording this at 8:40 p.m. on Monday night. Bucks are playing the Clippers, and Giannis is not playing because of an Achilles issue. I have not seen any further reporting other than that he tried to warm up, and it's been something that's been bothering him for a while. Long story short, those are the two teams that are above the Knicks. The Bucks, again, this will change by the time people hear this. 4 games up on New York, and the Cavs 3.5 games up. Behind the Knicks, we have the Philadelphia 76ers, who had you want to talk about a big win. I don't know if that's a bigger win for Philly or a bigger loss for Dallas. Why does this always fucking keep happening to the Mavs? I don't want to turn this into a Mavs podcast, but like wonder how Mavs fans are feeling right now. Probably not great. I mean, they have Luka, so that can't be too bad. So the Sixers' big win in Dallas on over the weekend. They're half game back of the Knicks. The Magic, who we will talk about in a bit because the Knicks face them in a few days, they are a game back of the Knicks. And then currently in the play-in spots, Miami is a game and a half back. And then the Pacers, who lost to Benjy has his rock-solid Detroit Pistons. I have my fighting San Antonio Spurs. Pacers lost to the Spurs. At least they have Wemby.
Yeah, they might have a top 10 player right now. So
it's not nuts. They're 2.5 games back of the Knicks. So it's basically 5 teams separated by 2.5 games, which is to say like a hot week from one team versus a cold week from another team, and the standings could flip. So that's where. So there's the prospect of the East standings. There is the OG Anunoby, Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson triangle of I don't want to call it the triangle of sadness, but the triangle of something. We'll see when it changes. Maybe it becomes no, it can't. It's just a straight line if it's just 2 of them. So that's sorry. And so there's that. But then there's the Brunson part of it, and he's fine. And this is a team that, as you just eloquently put, they keep fighting like hell. So, like, I'm feeling pretty good at the moment. Maybe that has a little bit to do with the fact that they have 4 home games coming up, and I feel it's weird because they could lose. I mean, they could lose every one of these games, like, right? Like, all the teams they're playing are capable of beating them, and that's not saying much because almost any team in the NBA is capable of beating almost any other team on any given night. But like, these are going to be 4, I think, competitive games. Like, Orlando is really good, and Philly, again, I just got done saying how they had a great win in Dallas. So, but despite that, I don't know, man. I'm choosing to drink the Kool-Aid, and part of that's because of how they're playing. Part of that is because Brunson's okay, and part of it, I think, is because I do think we're getting at least one of these guys back before. Maybe not before the West Coast road trip, but like by the time they go on the West Coast road trip.
Yeah, I mean, how much am I looking up? How much am I looking down? I mean, I am still focused on the down, especially because we're playing 3 games against the 2 teams immediately below us in the next 4 games. And those are going to be obviously like huge games. Philly's kind of stabilized a bit after, I think, the initial shock of Tyrese Maxey being like, oh, now everyone's paying attention to me all the time when Embiid got hurt. And now I think he's stabilized. He's had some huge games of late. Orlando has played the Knicks extremely well both times that they've played. And
3-0.
All three. Yeah. And they're happy to grind things down as like only the Knicks are in the league, I think. Like they will slug with you. Punch for punch. So that'll be a tough game. Miami seems to be finding something. Can't kill them. And they're only a game and a half back. Indiana's really struggled. Halliburton has not been the same since coming back from the injury. Buddy Hield's loss really hurt them, as I thought it might. He was a really important ingredient for them. So we'll see. They're the one team here that I think is like really, really struggling. So I'm not looking up yet, but that said, obviously the Mitchell injury and whatever happens with Giannis, like certainly not out of reach for this team. And the healthier they get, the quicker that happens, the better chance they have. But right now I'm looking down at the immediate games. I don't think we have the luxury at this point of looking anywhere but at the next game, the way things have gone.
No, we don't. I keep going back to Thibodeau's presser from a week, 10 days ago. I don't know. Could be 4 days ago. Time is a flat circle, where he was like, we hope to have all of them back before April, which to me was encouraging, specifically on the Mitchell Robinson front, because like that to me is like the closest thing we've heard to like a definitive statement that it's going to be before the playoffs. Let me ask you this. I mean, because obviously we don't know. We know Julius has taken some contact with pads, not contact against people. I don't think anybody. We've got an update that OG's taking contact yet. Although if there's been something, maybe I missed it. I don't think I missed that. But between OG and Julius, who do you think the team needs more right now?
You know, I think because it looks so hard to score for this team, I think the instinct would be to say Julius. But if you actually look at the reality of the numbers since these injuries, their defense has been horrendous. Now, they played really two very good defensive games, I think, against Golden State and against Cleveland. Yeah. But overall, it's been a disaster defensively since those guys went out. And OG... It was a disaster in December defensively, and it was a disaster in February defensively. It was a really good defensive month in January. There's one guy who played only in January for the Knicks, and that's OG. So I will actually say OG Anunoby to stabilize this defense, allow Brunson to carry the offense, assuming health, which I think we can assume to some extent now. Thank God. And then get Randall back in the fold. That would be my answer. How about you?
Actually, you just reminded me. I should have probably said explicitly at the top of the show for anybody listening who may not have heard the news that Brunson. The news is he's questionable for the Hawks game, and that Ian Begley reported that the Knicks are. I forget what his exact word was. Basically, confident that he had avoided any kind of serious injury. So I don't know if he's going to be back for Atlanta, but we would. For me, I'm expecting him to sit out against Atlanta and be back for Orlando on Friday. That's just literally me just guessing, but who knows? My answer is OG too. I've said that on a few times on some post games, and my rationale is obviously what you said, but also, and this maybe we could detour for a half a second into like X's and O stuff. If you just replace, maybe I shouldn't make this assumption. I was going to say if you just replace Precious with someone that teams have to guard when they're behind the arc. Let's stop there for a second. We should assume that it's going to be Precious, right? That goes to the bench, or should we not assume that?
If OG is the first one to come back,
OG's the first one to come back.
Probably either way.
Well, if Randall, then obviously it's going to be Precious going to the bench.
Yeah, I would say OG would replace Precious before Josh Hart. Yeah.
So, yeah, and. You know, teams have to. I mean, you've been tweeting about this as much as anyone. All of the teams that are just blatantly not caring at all about Achua when he's quote unquote spacing the floor. And look, this is not to say that he's not capable of hitting a three. He hit a three last night. It felt anytime he hits a three, it feels huge in the moment. But we've said this many times on the show over the years. There's a difference between. It's like Josh Hart. Josh Hart could hit threes. He hit the biggest three of the season, arguably last night. There's a difference between being able to hit threes and actually spacing the floor. And when OG's out there, he will space the floor. And I think, like, again, we're not talking about counting on Jalen Brunson to carry the load for 3 months. We're talking about Jalen Brunson asking him to carry the load for another, couple of weeks, maybe. I don't know. So that's why OG would be my answer too.
Yeah, on the offensive end, you eliminate those 3 non-shooting lineups, which have been hard to watch, especially against Golden State when they started the game and didn't score for seemed like the whole first quarter, and then the third quarter didn't go much better at the beginning. So you eliminate that lineup because OG enters in that spot. You now have a center, and like Josh Hart is your quote unquote non-shooter, not very good shooter, although it's been a lot better since the All-Star break. And you have OG spacing. So I think that's very fair on the offensive end. That said, like, I don't want to understate what Julius and his creative element adds to that offense and how badly Jalen Brunson needs him back, how badly Dante DiVincenzo needs him back, and like what that means for their shot quality. Obviously also essential, but I think it's a fair argument even on the offensive end because of what you said.
Do you think, last thing on this before we move on, do you think Tibbs not realized, I mean, he thinks about all this stuff. It's not like these are revelations to him, but do you think he finally had a change of heart?
Yeah,
in terms of the Precious thing, because he only played in 22 minutes against Cleveland.
Yeah, I think it took him way too long in the Golden State game. Probably in both quarters, definitely in the first quarter. You go X amount of and the Golden State's really they're one of the smartest teams in the league. They're one of the most prepared teams. They're one of the most experienced teams. Watch Draymond Green that whole first few minutes. It was a joke. It was a joke what he was doing. He was basically quarterback spying on Jalen Brunson, guarding nobody. It was like a quarterback shade. And you can't survive that, against smart defenses who are really keyed in with all that lack of shooting on the floor. And I just think it took him too long, and they probably got in a bigger hole than they could actually ever come out of. And, you could argue they lost the game in that first X amount of minutes.
Absolutely.
And then at the end of the Cleveland game, you see what it looks like with Bogey at the 4, basically, or Hart at the 4, however you want to define it. And all the options that creates, and him as a screener and a ghost screener, and he's got open threes, and he's making at least a couple of them. And the spacing is just a whole lot better for everyone. And with all of that said, there's part of me that understands that it's easier to play that lineup when Jalen Brunson's not in the game defensively. Right? It's
That's
Deuce.
A great call.
Deuce instead of Brunson. So you still have 4 really strong defenders on the floor who can protect Bogey. And so I'm sympathetic to the issue where you have to sacrifice one or the other between Precious and Bogey. It would be nice, obviously, the more two-way players, hello OG Anunoby, that you have, the better off you are. Right now, they have to choose, and I am sympathetic to it. But I think Tibbs, as is his call, there's a stubbornness to him, and he's always going to lean defense and rebounding.
Yes,
and I think at times he needs to be a little more flexible in the moment. So that would be my critique. And I think what you saw with Bogey at the 4, I thought was the point, and one of the reasons you got him is because you can go to that lineup. It looked really good down the stretch against Cleveland. But I do understand it. I think the Brunson plus Bogey, and forget it when Randall comes back. I don't know how good that lineup is, and whether you can really even play it against some of the better offensive teams.
If you have one of the centers playing at the peak of their powers, and then, I mean, probably not OG, because then who's your 2? Although I don't know. It's interesting conversations that I hope we will have a chance to have, because it means all of these guys.
The Josh Hart at the 2 lineups were killing it in January, right? A Hart with OG, Randall, and a center.
Yeah,
those lineups were doing great. Even though it's not the best shooting lineup ever. So I think OG is like a key. We saw it. OG was the key that unlocked all sorts of possibilities for this team. And I can't wait for him to get back so we can see it all.
You and me both. A couple other things, and then we'll get to game balls and predictions and everything. Shaking things up. Oh, Andrew, with the creativity here on the rundown. What do you make of the Shake Milton acquisition? Depth piece, potential Alec Burks replacement, favored to CAA agents. The Knicks would never. The Knicks would never, as I saw they signed Jacob Toppin to a 2-way contract today. He's going to pop one of these days, Jacob Toppin. It's coming. Any day now. I can tell you're excited. I don't know what there is to say about the Milton acquisition. It feels like we kind of, and Fred is kind of, I think, reported. Ian Bagley's definitely kind of said as much in a tweet. I forget if Fred has reported this or we've kind of just been bullshitting with him about this, but it does not seem like the Knicks are necessarily planning on playing him over anybody that is currently playing. Is that your? Do you think that is the correct thing? And if not, why?
Yeah, if you missed my 68-part thread on Shake Milton, you can check that out.
Great tweet.
Yeah, I don't think he's coming to play. I think he's coming to be a depth piece, and probably a combination of a CAA favor and a little bit of depth. If someone else went down for, DiVincenzo or Burks or Bogey or Brunson went down, then I think you probably have to play one more guard and he'd be the guy. And he's a semi-competent NBA player, so he probably would be okay. And he can get you a bucket here and there. It's another guy that doesn't really fit like the I don't know, modus operandi of this team, like the physicality, the defense, like that's not really him. He's whatever. I can't imagine he's there to play unless you tell me like Alec Burks continues to be horrendous and maybe he takes that spot. But I imagine after trading for him, I can't imagine the Knicks will be excited about that happening.
I think. Sorry, I mean, where Alec Burks is at right now, which is, I found it hysterical that Tibbs said the thing. So Tibbs played 11 minutes against Golden State, said the thing he said after the game. Front of me missed it. Tibbs was like, yeah, I probably should have played him more. Net rating plus minus, gobble to go. What does he do against Cleveland without Jalen Brunson, by the way? He plays him 11 minutes again. Like, I think Tibbs is going to keep trotting him out there for 5-6 minutes a half. And if it starts to click, then maybe we have a slightly different conversation. But I would be, not shocked. I'd be surprised if Tibbs pulled the plug, at least until does he have the rest of the regular season to figure it out? Burks, again, in 10 minutes a game? Honestly, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. He's got to stop maybe we should wait for detention. There's certain things he's good stop doing immediately, but yeah, I would like you traded for the guy. I think Tibbs does. There is, having performed for Tibbs in the past holds a lot of water, especially for this coach. So it's gonna take him some time to just kick him to the curb. And from a rotational standpoint, you traded for the guy. Go ahead.
No, sorry. There's a second thought on this. I just realized this. I keep fast forwarding to the playoffs and the playoff rotation, right? When everybody's healthy and I keep going back and forth. Is he gonna play 9 guys? If he does, playoff rotations often it's 8 guys, especially when you figure how many minutes the OG Anunobys and Jalen Brunsons and Julius Randles of the world. Put that aside for a moment. If we believe that he's not going to play more than 9 guys in the rotation, which I don't think he's going to play more than 9 guys in the rotation. I think he's going to play 9. Let's say everybody's back.
Deuce.
You know where I'm going with this. Deuce has to play over Alec, right?
Right now he does. Oh yeah. I don't even think it's close.
No, it's not.
It's not close right now. And Deuce gives you something that you might need in certain matchups, I think. Again, especially with Grimes going out, is a guy who can really hound someone like he did. He played a ton of minutes. I don't think the defense was as on point on Garland as it might have been had he played a little bit less and more in spurts.
As opposed to 47 consecutive minutes.
As opposed to the entire game, other than the first X amount of seconds. Garland got some shots off, but that was not always his fault. It was sometimes the guys were too deep in drop, whatever it was. But that's exactly the kind of guy I want Deuce McBride in the game to guard at times, right? For this team. Yeah. So if Alec Burks is doing this, it's not even close. It's not a question. I wouldn't even hesitate. It should be Deuce in that spot. And especially again, if you have Julius to at least help your second units out, and maybe OG also, and maybe Hartenstein also, and however you want to kind of stagger the minutes so that you have as much ball handling as possible without Brunson on the floor for those 10 minutes a night. You can do it. And you don't need Burks to certainly do what he's doing right now.
I mean, last thing we'll give out game ball. At this point, I think we're now the version of the quote unquote backup unit that we have is I feel like it's kind of running through Bogey more than anybody else. Is that fair to say? They're
running a lot of little early actions for Bogey. Yeah. It was good to see him get in the paint and make a bunch of mid-range jumpers against the Cavs. That was nice to see.
He was on fire there in the second quarter.
Yeah, it was nice to see that because obviously the over against Golden State was awful, and it's been pretty much 3 or die. And it was nice to see him with some ball handling reps, get in the paint, do what he does, create. And he had a couple great passes too. One to the corner that I can remember. I don't remember who made the 3, if it was Deuce or Hart. It was a terrific pass on a driving kick. So he showed you a little bit of what he can do, and we need him to do. You want to limit how much Burks has to handle the ball, but he is going to handle it a good bit. Maybe they're making a concerted effort to like run a little bit less through him to Bogey, and then I think also Hartenstein when he's with that unit as well.
Well, we're gonna have a lot of talk about in a short period of time. Assuming that these, at least Julius is several weeks away from returning, but one thing at a time. Okay, let's give out some awards here, starting with our game ball, given to a player, coach, or entity that stood out this week and deserves special recognition. Our nominees, as always, I will read exactly the words that Andrew has written on the old document here. Josh Hart collected his third triple-double of the season on Sunday night. 10 for 24 from 3 in 175 minutes. He played 175 minutes in 4 games. It's abject insanity. What are we doing here? Oh my God. You're just looking at it and staring. Deuce played 47 minutes and I think it was actually 14 seconds versus Cleveland. He was 8 of 20 from 3 this week. Good for a 40% clip. Dante DiVincenzo, 20 of 54 from 3 this week in 144 minutes. He shot 54 threes in 4 games. So that's an average of 13 threes a game or whereabouts, something like that. 13 and change. Jericho Sims plus 17, team high plus 17 in the win on Sunday. Sims plus the starters are plus 29.1 points per 100 possessions in 86 possessions. Small sample size, but pretty nifty. That's since the All-Star break. And then Jalen Brunson and Andrew says, click link. What am I clicking the link? Oh, to me, you are perfect. Yes, to me, you are perfect. I give it out. This is me. This is exciting.
How does this work? Why is it you? What does it mean? I don't get to give one out?
No, you go say the person who wins the week gives out the game ball first. The person who loses the week gives out the detention first.
Such strict rules around here. Wow.
Listen, we have to have order. Man, this is a great list. It's a good list, and I gotta go with my heart here. And that was pun not intended because I'm not giving it to Josh Hart. You can have it if you want. I died on the Josh Hart hill early, and
don't. I'll talk about him. Okay. You give it to whoever you want to give it to.
I'm gonna give it to Dante DiVincenzo. Who we as Knicks fans are, I think, like most Knicks fans, are fully cognizant of like what he is doing and what he has meant and how much he has grown as a player this season. You talked about it extensively on last week's pod, and it's like, again, the Jalen Brunson goes down 30 seconds into the game. Dante DiVincenzo is the top offensive option. Like, all the respect to Josh Hart, all the respect to Bogey, all the respect to who else even belongs in the conversation? Deuce, I don't know. Alec Burks. Like, it's DiVincenzo. He's the number one option. And that's not to say that he's out there running, ISOs and like pick and roll after pick and roll, but he's the guy. He's the number one guy that Cleveland has to take away.
It's where Isaac Okoro went once Brunson came out, right? That Isaac Okoro immediately pivoted to guarding DiVincenzo. Yeah.
And you're on the road. I know Mitchell was out. Mitchell being out didn't make their defense any worse. I would argue. And against a defense that had been the best going into that game, had been the best defense in basketball over a 2-month stretch, more than half the season. And DiVincenzo's like, okay, what do you need me to do? And he goes out there and he puts up 28 points, and it's a fairly efficient 28 points. And it's like, man, this guy is like, it's that I feel like we don't see this a lot, or maybe outside of New York, we don't see this a lot because we saw this with Julius Randle just a couple of years ago. I understand that DiVincenzo's not an all-star. He's not an all-NBA level player. I'm not trying to make that comparison, but just guys who are a certain thing throughout, like, to a point in their career, and then they get maybe a combination of more opportunity or whatever it is. And it's just like, the word has been used before. I think it's the only appropriate word. He's been a revelation, and I want to give him his due this week.
Yeah, and it's not ISOs and it's not a ton of pick and rolls necessarily, though he's certainly getting more of those. And he's showing increased patience, I think, in the pick and roll, and he found some great looks to the roller. But I think about the key play of the game, maybe the Josh Hart 3 was the key, but maybe the dagger was the McBride 3 from the left corner. And that was basically everything broke down. Mobley, one of the top switch bigs in the league, I would say, is guarding DiVincenzo. And that's not a situation you really want to be in, where DiVincenzo is the one. That's what happens, right? When your top offensive option often finds himself in this situation where they're switching a bunch and the clock's running down, it's late game, and you just got to beat a guy off the dribble. And to his credit, last 2-minute report notwithstanding, because they said it was a travel, but notwithstanding that, he beats Mobley off the dribble. Garland gets caught in very bad help position, I thought. I'm not really sure what he was doing on the play. And he finds Deuce in the left corner for a 3. It's like he did some of the 1A first option type of stuff that certainly didn't sign him to do when he gave him the mid-level exception.
We didn't think he was going to start.
And
or maybe some people thought he was going to start, but I didn't.
It's crazy, right? And here he is running some of your most important possessions. And that's not even discussing the fact that he had 3 huge steals in the third quarter. He's still giving you a ton of defensive activity and intelligence. A couple of plays he made defensively I thought were terrific against Cleveland in the third quarter specifically. He's so good at anticipating actions. So well deserved. He's been ridiculous.
Even you just reminded me of it, the blind pig action that DJ tweeted about today, that's designed to get DiVincenzo going downhill, which it did, but he still got Jared freaking Allen at the rim.
Some of the finishes all of a sudden, first 15, 20 games a year, couldn't make a layup. And it's always been a little bit of a weak point for him. And some of the reverse finishes and transition against Golden State, I can think of he split 2 guys in the air and made a reverse. It's been, cool. He's blossomed. It's pretty incredible story. Dante DiVincenzo.
All right, you're up. So now it is your turn, Benjy.
Yeah, let's take the other Nova boy, Josh.
Sure.
My friend Josh. Some of the rebounds he gets are so absurd. And he's going up with centers, power forwards. And not only does he get the rebound, but he gets the rebound and simultaneously turns his body and dribbles so that it's now a 3-on-2 going the other way. It's crazy what he's able to do. And yeah, he's exposed offensively when he has to shoot 17 times. And yet the impact he's making on the game night to night right now, playing the minutes he's playing considering how hard he's playing, it's hard to believe that he has any kind of energy in the fourth quarter. And
did he look tired to you?
The most energetic guy on the floor every night for 4 quarters, 40 minutes. I'm blown away, honestly, blown away by his performance, his grit, his toughness, his stamina, his spirit. He had a response to, I forget which journalist tweeted it out. Oh, it was in the Bontemp story. It was in the Bontemp story where he said to him basically, what the hell do you guys expect? We're literally giving it everything we got. We don't have any bodies and we're doing our best. And he meant it. What a genuine answer. We're not coming out here not accepting defeat. And if anyone on the team deserves the credit, primary credit for the week that was, and we talked about it at the top, just every game was a grind. They would not let go of the rope. Sometimes I think almost to their detriment, where they'd be better off getting blown out in the first half and resting guys for a night.
Yeah,
I felt that way at halftime against New Orleans. I never felt like they were going to win this game.
Yeah.
It would have been nice if Hart could play 20 minutes and sit, but they refused. And if anyone deserves that credit, it's him. So kudos. The offensive stuff is real. It's not mutually exclusive to say that his offensive limitations can be a problem in certain matchups, deep playoff runs, and yet the value he provides this team night in, night out, regular season, and in the playoffs in certain spots is just tremendous. So props to him, man. It's been an inspiration to watch him play.
I'm going to get ahead of myself here for a second. I'm going to say this. We're not there yet. He's been here for barely a season, but given how he plays, given what he contributes, and given when it's going good, like the vibes you get, like that inspire people like you to say what you just said. If this team continues to be successful, and God forbid ever screws around and like makes a finals or something in the next couple of years, and I think he's going to be here. I don't think Josh Hart's going anywhere. I think he is.
Nope. He's got a podcast with the franchise cornerstone. He's not going anywhere.
You said it, not me. He's not going anywhere. He has a chance to really cement himself like as one of like those guys in the history of this franchise, and we all know who those guys are. And they're the sort of guys that like you tell your grandkids about. And he listen, that's, I mean, again, that may seem crazy. He's been here for a year. I think it's on the table, at least for him. And, the fact that he could inspire me to say that or think that is a testament to what he's doing. Sucks for the guy who played 47 consecutive minutes. Couldn't even get a freaking game ball. Sorry, Deuce. We love you. Detention given to a player, coach, or entity that deserves to sit down for a while and think about what they did wrong. Okay, again, just reading off the words on the page here. Send your hate mail to, I don't know what Andrew's Twitter account is. Is it at Andrew Claudio, probably? I don't know. Alec Burks.
You know where to find him.
You know where to find Andrew. Bruh, that's the comment. Bruh. Bad faith Twitter doctors that blame Brunson's injury on Tibbs. I didn't know that was actually a thing that happened, but I guess internet is undefeated. Grow up. The Cleveland Cavaliers. Eventually, a backbone will be required for this to be a fair fight. Listen, let it be known, Jonathan Macri of the Knicks Film School Podcast still has a lot of respect for the Cleveland Cavaliers. It's a good team, and they didn't have Donovan Mitchell. Knicks fans that booed Evan Fournier, ... Why? ? Again, just reading the page. And then Jaime Jaquez Jr., still here from last week and the week before that, the week before that, the week before that, and we'll be here forever and ever. Amen. This is yours to give out.
The worst Triple J.
The worst Triple J.
Second tier Triple J.
Third tier Triple J.
Who's the first tier?
Jaren Jackson Jr.? I don't know.
Who's second tier?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, I thought you actually had one in mind.
No, I didn't.
That's not as fun. All right, fine.
Sorry.
Detention. Put me here 2 weeks in a row, John.
I don't blame me.
Alec Burks. What are you doing? What are you doing? What is happening here?
Can I just... He hit 2 big shots in the fourth quarter against Cleveland. He did hit 2 big... Let
me bring you back to the Golden State game. Can I bring you back to the Golden State game for a second?
I would rather you didn't, but sure.
The Knicks cut it to 4.
Yes, they did.
Against the Golden State bench unit, right?
Yes.
And Golden State, I have the play-by-play in front of me because this play... Golden State brings in the cavalry with 6:35 left in the fourth. Minga for Paul, Moody for Thompson, Curry for Saric, Green for Jackson Davis. Right? Starters come back in. Simmons makes the second free throw, cut it back to fourth after that sub. Cut it back to 4 after that sub. 6:35 to go. Knicks foul. Draymond Green makes 1 of 2. 5-point game. 6:14 to go. Knicks possession. 5-point game. Burks and Bogey are still in, which in hindsight, maybe they shouldn't have been. Burks takes a 14-foot mid-range jump shot.
I remember.
That gets blocked by Moody.
Yeah.
And they get a fast break layup the other way and one Kuminga. And honestly, the game ended right there. Because the Knicks put everything into getting that thing somewhat close somehow against all odds. And your shot selection is so egregiously awful right now that at that moment, you literally lost them the game. Like, you couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
And I just don't really know what's going through his head right now. I don't know if he's stuck between feeling like he has to provide offense for a team that's needing it, or if he... Like this is just not how they need you to play. Nobody's asking you to play this way. Pass the ball. How many bad floaters have we seen?
Yeah.
Like awful. Like if he's open for a pull-up three off the dribble, every time I want him shooting it. Every time. He's a really good shooter. The threes are going to start to fall. I'm telling you, they are going to start to fall. He's a really good shooter, always has been, and that's not going to stop. But some of the shots, like the mid-range turnarounds, the floaters that like they're not good shots to begin with. You're not that good at those shots. Like, pass the ball. I don't know what else to say. I've been saying it 2 straight weeks. I still think the Detroit stink is going to come off at some point, or Tibbs is going to slap it out of him, or Shake Milton's going to shake it out of him. But something's got to change. Something's got to change. Alec Burks, 2 weeks in a row of detention.
I can't follow that up. What can I add to that? Here, you know what? Here's what I can add to that. With the Knicks, he's shooting 24% on mid-rangers.
Yeah.
He's hit 1 of 10 from long mid-range.
Mm-hmm.
6 of 19 from floater.
The worst thing about that stat is that he's taken 10 long mid-range shots.
Oh, long twos. Yeah. Oh, boy. Okay. I have to give it to someone. I'm not really inspired to give it to any of these other people, so I'll just give it to. I don't know. I don't want to give it to Cleveland. I don't want to ruffle any feathers there.
You want to poke the baby bear? You want to poke the baby bear?
Twitter's a bunch of assholes, so I'm not going to give it to them. It's like what? It's a waste of attention.
You don't want to poke the little cub?
No. Do I want to give it to Knicks fans who booed Evan Fournier? Not really. I mean, I've never booed an athlete at a game. I never will boo an athlete at a game or anywhere. It's just not something I do. But whatever. I'll give it to Jaime Jaquez Jr. That's fine.
Trash.
Yes, he's trash. Okay. Predictions. We're here.
I'm stunned that you didn't want to poke the bear and then you poked the Heat player. I'm just saying.
I listen. Respect
not
for
little Evan Mobley.
Is,
not Evan Mobley, who somehow came out of that game and said that the Cavs were disrupted by Jalen Brunson's injury.
Can we?
Come on, man.
All right, maybe I'll change my answer. Maybe I'll put Mobley in detention. You know what? I'm going to change it. I'll put Mobley in detention. Can I say why though?
Please.
How long did it take after he was drafted, after he first started playing games in the NBA for the KG comparisons to start?
Yeah. Oh boy.
It was within a month or two, right?
It's unacceptable.
That is yes, that's the word for it. It's unacceptable. And it's unacceptable because pick fucking literally any game Kevin Garnett was ever, high school game, a grade school game. I mean, whatever, any interview the man ever did. And it would take you about 8.5 seconds to realize, oh, this guy's a motherfucker. And he's going to be that way. Doesn't matter where he's playing, who he's playing against.
He still is.
So, like, you know who I'm putting in detention? Anyone who ever, God knows I probably wrote this in some newsletter somewhere, so maybe I'm putting myself in detention here. Anyone who ever made the KG comparison to Evan Mobley, you're in detention. That's who's going in detention this week for me. Okay.
I can point to 2 possessions on the, like, he is really good. And
he's gifted defensively. Absolutely.
Defensively, he's got some good things. Like, he's going to be really good. He's going to have a great career. I will say there were 2 plays, one Jericho Sims guarding him one-on-one, where after contact with Sims, he moved like 5 feet back and flung up a terrible fadeaway floater that wasn't close. The other one was I clipped it this morning, and I was focused on the Knicks defense as a whole, but like, you watched what kills the possession. It's Mobley tries to put his shoulder into Josh Hart in the paint, and he ends up above the free throw line. So like, he just needs to add the strength to be able to finish through people. And until he does, it's going to be hard for him, especially at the 4, but even at the 5 in some ways. Like, he's just not quite there yet.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where his career goes. I mean, look, you said he's too talented not to be really good. He's going to make a positive impact. Like, maybe it's a different coach. Maybe it's a different team that fully figures it out. Yeah. Maybe it's you have to put certain pieces around him, and like, he has the talent to warrant like putting the pieces around him to make it fit and make it work. So like he's got that going for him, but I don't know. Right now it's kind of going a little bit sideways. Okay, enough about who the hell are we talking about? Evan Mobley. Okay, predictions. Okay, here we go. Now we're up to it. Only 3 games this week. Andrew has informed me that I need to go undefeated the rest of the season to tie or
good, because I can't blow it for Jeremy then, because I'm 0-1 already.
Yeah. But Jeremy /U still has a 10-6 lead on me. Here are the 3 games. All 3 home games. Tuesday, Hawks. Friday, Magic. And Sunday, our KFS outing, and that is the Sixers. How frisky am I feeling? How frisky am I? I mean, it's... Here's the problem. I think they're going to win one of the Sixers games. And I think they're going to win one of these next 2 games. I have no idea which one of the Sixers games they're going to win. I mean, who knows? Maybe they don't win either. But like, if I had to guess, I would guess that they would win one. I just have zero feel or anything for which one they're going to win. It's a national TV game. I don't know if that helps or hurts or whatever. Fuck it. I'll be optimistic. I'll go 2-1. You don't really have a choice. Like, it's. Are you thinking about it? Oh my God. Is you really thinking about it? They could lose tomorrow if they don't have Brunson.
The Hawks?
The Hawks, who just got they got blown out by the Nets once, and then they lost like.
All right, you have to win every week from here on out to beat Jeremy.
That is what Andrew told me. I have to win on out to not lose. Yes.
They're going 3-0, baby. Yeah.
I hope to God that I predictions ends this week, because if they start this week out 3-0,
too pessimistic last week, and I'm not making that mistake again. Trust this team. I'm feeling good. 3-0, baby. 3-0. The Hawks stink. They're not losing all 4 to the Magic this season. And they've had the Sixers number this year. 3-0.
I will say this about the Hawks. I by the way, I agree with you on the Magic. The notion that they're going to go 0-4 against the Magic, there's just something about that doesn't pass the smell test to me. The Hawks have guys. Like, they definitely have guys right now. They don't have a lot of guys. If you start looking at some of the players that are coming off their bench currently, you could be a fairly, into it NBA fan and not know some of the names of the people that are currently playing minutes. Actually, no, you will know one name. It's Wes Matthews. Wes Matthews is currently playing minutes for the Atlanta Hawks. So there's that. They have that going for them.
Wes Matthews' son? Is he coming out of college already?
No, it's not that one.
Was he in the G League? All right, fine. 3-0. Screw it.
I love it.
Jeremy's going to beat you anyway. I'm not going to be blamed. So 3-0.
Be careful. Okay. This is great. Some announcements. You, Benjy, and DJ Zulo will be live on Wednesday night.
Oh, yeah.
To do KFS X's and O's. And I'm really excited for that, because we didn't get a chance to get into that much X's and O's tonight, but I know you're going to do a much better job than you do with me, because you get to talk to DJ on Wednesday about it, and that's going to be a lot of fun. I always love tuning into that. And
we're going to go all narratives. We're going to throw a curveball. This is going to be like, rank your top 20. That's what the whole podcast is going to be. It's going to be sick.
You should do the and I hate myself for doing it. And I'll admit I do it, but I hate myself for it. I have the NBA Central Twitter thing on alerts, because it's the easiest way to just make sure I didn't miss some.
They're actually like a somewhat valuable aggregator, even though they do it sometimes in bad faith. But they're gonna get they're gonna get everything.
That's the thing. They're gonna get everything, but you also need to deal with the one has to go tweet, where it's there's 4, that's what your whole episode should be. One has to go instead of 4.
Yes. Start, bench, cut.
Start, bench.
Do those. We could do we could do GOAT debates, just straight GOAT debates.
Yes. Yes, nothing but GOAT debates. Jesus Christ. Congrats to LeBron, by the way, 40,000 points. That's a good. In all seriousness, a great job by him. What else? Casual Fridays returns later this week. Be excited for that. Did
you hear Mensa's auto-tune trill after watching the? Have you watched this?
Which clip?
When Josh Hart got him to sing to the gods.
Yes. I did.
One of the great clips of the year.
Don't shoot that, Josh.
Oh my goodness! Give it up. He has to take the shot.
Oh my God!
Hey, listen, Josh Hart inspires that. Who knows what the Casual Friday crew will be doing or singing to this Friday, but you'll get to hear it because they're back. Again, it's been a little bit of a weird schedule the second half of the season, so they haven't had as many opportunities to chime in on stuff as we would like, but they're here this week. And then watch-alongs and pregame pods and all that stuff all week long. That is it. Benjy, anything from you before we go?
Nah. I assume Jeremy will be back. You guys finally get rid of me. I'll get one more. I'll get tomatoed a little bit tonight. It'll be good. It's good to knock me down a peg or two. So I look forward to that. And thanks for having me on, John. Always a pleasure to talk to you. Thanks for inviting me, GMAC. And talk to you guys soon.
Benjy, as I said before, the pleasure's all mine. I love talking to this team or talking to you about this team. Always leaves me feeling comforted. I don't know why. I don't know if it's necessarily maybe it's your presence. Maybe it's the words that come out of your mouth. I have no idea, but I always leave feeling better than when I came in. So thank you, GMAC. Even though he's an absentee landlord at the moment because he's cheating on us. I think he's actually live right now doing like literally as we're talking, doing the chase down with the Cavs guys.
Are you serious?
I checked his Twitter account. I'm pretty sure he like retweeted with them being like going live now or whatever.
So they're doing a post game, like they're talking about the Knicks Cavs game post facto.
I know they do live shows with guests. Like he's done a live show with them before. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that's what he's doing right now.
Can't keep that guy away from content.
No, you can't. He's an animal. Anyway, thanks be to him.
That's pretty despicable.
What?
It's pretty despicable, honestly. So I'll talk to him about it later.
Serious comment. Maybe he should go in detention.
What? And by the way, me? Yes, there.
And most of all, thank you to everybody. Don't forget to give the show a thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube or a tomato. And 5-star rating. No thumbs down here. Review all that good stuff. And we will be back with more fun and games very soon. Peace out.